Living green or sustainably is about more than saving on your electric bill and doing your part to protect natural resources. It is about a safer and healthier life for you and your family without sacrificing style, quality, or budget. This is a movement to provide all of us with clean air to breathe and water to drink, safe, healthy food to eat and places to live, and energy to run the places where we live, learn, play, and work. The Everyday Green Home Podcast helps you get the value of green for you, your family, and your community. Whether it's green homes, green living, or the people who make it happen, join me, Marla Esser Close, to learn how green and sustainability practices and products work for you and our world. Welcome to the Everyday Green Home Podcast. This is Marla, the Green Home Coach, and I am just enjoying so much all the topics and the people that I am getting to bring to all of you out there listening. Today is one of our regular guests on the show, Tina Gleisner, our expert in home maintenance and how to get things done around your house, whether it be DIY or calling in the pros. How are you this morning, Tina?
I'm fine.
You are. I see all the bright sunshine in the back.
Yes. Although it's not as sunny today as normal.
Well, I mean, Florida is usually pretty sunny, so I think you're in the right place, right?
Yeah.
I know we're happy we got sunshine today. We had more storms last night. So here in Oklahoma, that is standard protocol for May. So yes, one of the cars went back over to my mom's so we could put it in the garage just in case, because we've had a couple of hailstorms already this year.
Oh, right.
Right. And, if I can avoid it, then I don't have to repair it.
That's true.
How's that for a lead-in? Well, today I'm really excited to have this conversation about something that we're going to put a little reality check on about budgeting for home repairs and maintenance. And I know that doesn't sound like just kind of blah. Like, okay, number one, we got the words budget in there, repair, and maintenance, which all sound kind of like chores, don't they?
Yeah.
So
the better job you do budgeting, the less time you're going to spend agonizing over, how am I going to fix this problem?
Exactly. I mean, it's like planning, right? You plan the work, then you can work the plan. And I am not the best at budgeting, so I am an avid student while we're here because I've got to do a better job myself. And my last home, I lived in a condo-like situation. So the only things I had to take care of were on the inside. I didn't have to take care of any of the outside. So that was nice because since I was living by myself in particular, I didn't have to worry about so much. So it kind of helped ease me in, if you will. But as we all know, everything we have needs to be taken care of, right?
Absolutely.
And our homes are, usually the biggest investment we make in our lives. So taking care of it makes sense. And I get asked the question a lot, Tina, and I don't know if you do. Why are we talking about home maintenance with sustainability and green homes?
Because our homes are living, breathing things.
Ooh, that's a great answer. That wasn't the one I was thinking of, but I like that one.
And even if, we use the right materials to be more sustainable, they still need some type of tender loving care to last as long as possible.
Bingo. That's the one I always think of. Is part of the whole philosophy of sustainability and green building. I mean, if you think of the word sustainable, it means something that can last into the future. So just the whole idea of longevity and making things last longer means you don't have to use up as much stuff. So that's just the natural fit that I always think of first, but I love the other ones that you came up with. So, any rate, if we're going to have this whole plan, and we should start with what? With the budget?
Right. I want to clarify. I think we wanted to today talk about budgeting for the bigger expenses that we have around the home. So we're really here today talking about how do you plan for that day when ultimately you have to replace your air conditioners or your entire HVAC system. We're not talking about just the filters.
Right. Good point.
So because, the small stuff you can manage. I mean, you can run to Home Depot and you can pick up a filter. That stuff is manageable. It's easier if you plan that ahead too, so that you only have to make one trip a quarter for materials instead of, times this month. But your HVAC system or a new roof are major expenses that most people don't have that kind of money sitting in the bank.
Very true.
And so that's the reason you need to budget, is because you are ultimately going to have those expenses, and it's not like they're going to arrive on a schedule that fits.
Oh, come on. We're going to schedule out that this day the refrigerator's going to die.
Yeah. So for example, like roofs go, they don't last forever.
True.
And what you basically, the first 10 years, you're probably in good shape, unless you live on the water where you've got a lot of severe weather and salt air.
Ooh, yeah.
Roofs last less than otherwise. But the idea is after 10 years, you probably want to have a roofing company just check out your roof.
Okay.
And then maybe at 15 years, have them check again, so that you can get some feedback in the planning process. So you have an idea of how many more years you can get out of a roof. I mean, because the worst thing is to, have a roof leak because the roof is beyond its end of life. And now not only do you have an $8,000 roof that has to be replaced, but then you've got water damage in the attic and down into the bedrooms. And that could add a couple more $1,000 that is sitting there scratching your head saying.
Right. And we don't want to discover that something needs to be replaced when we're in the worst case situation. Like it seems like the air conditioner always goes out on the hottest day of the year, or the furnace on the coldest. So at least by having a plan in place, when those things do happen, you hopefully are a little more ready for it, right?
Right. And that's why, with your HVAC system, your air conditioners, your hot water heater, it really pays to have a professional come in and tune it up once a year, because that, in fact, is going to prolong the life. So if you do nothing to maintain an HVAC system, it might only last 15 years. If you do the right annual maintenance, you might get 20 or 25 years out of it.
When I had my system maintained back when I was in St. Louis, the technician also told me that the better maintained systems keep their energy efficiency better.
Yes.
That was something that was kind of a duh. I should have thought of that, but I hadn't thought of that. So, that regular maintenance, just like your car, if you keep it regularly maintained, it's going to operate more efficiently and in tip-top condition. So it's going to be able to serve us better. So the same thing happens with our systems in our homes, doesn't it?
And you're going to get better gas mileage, which I think people can relate to better. But about, an electric bill that's $5 less a month. I mean, it adds up over the years.
Right. You just don't necessarily notice it on a monthly basis because it's not a huge amount. So if we haven't started a budget, what do we do?
It really depends on the age of your home. The rule of thumb, on average, is you should be saving 2 to 3% of the purchase price of your house. So obviously, if you've owned your house for 20 years, that's not the purchase price from 20 years ago. It's what would the cost of that house be today. And generally, if the house is brand new, then you're not going to need
as much
right away. So maybe only need to save 1%
annually,
the first few years. And then maybe when you get to 5 years, you want to up that to 2%. By the time you get to 15 years, you better be saving, either you've got a lot of money saved up already, or you want to be saving 3, maybe even 4%, because a lot of things start to go at 20, 25 years.
Gotcha. So let's just put that in quick retrospect for folks. So if you're living in a $300,000 home, 1% is $3,000 a year.
Correct.
So that's not too horrible. That's a few $100s a month. But that emergency fund, I know right now we are recording this during the coronavirus pandemic. And this whole idea of starting a budget right now with money changing, with unemployment so high and not so much uncertainty, The thought of starting a budget account just kind of goes, oh my gosh, really? One more thing. But I love the story that we were talking about offline about the story of the tree. And, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. That way with budget. But when's the next best time to plant a tree? So if you haven't started a budget, we should start one today, right?
Yes, you should.
Okie doke. Well, hang tight, folks. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to help you lay out what some of the expectations are for replacements on both the inside and the outside of your home. Be right back. Hey, this is Marla Close, the Green Home Coach, and I am the author of Living Green Effortlessly, Simple Choices for a Better Home. And in this book, besides talking about a bunch of stuff, about green and sustainability products and practices you can easily take in your home, also talk about home maintenance and how important this is to having a home that serves you rather than you serving it. Seasonal home maintenance checklists are a big part of this, and I teamed up with colleague Tina Gleisner from Home Tips for Women to use her maintenance checklist, actually included in the book, starting on page 96. And if you have the book, look them up. But I wanted to give you a brief excerpt from the book to get you excited about why home maintenance checklists, I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but why they are so important. So, maintaining a home is actually a 3-part ongoing process: inspect, maintain, and update. To help you keep track of what you've done and plan to do, make notes on the checklist. First, inspect. If you've only got an hour to spare, pick one exterior side of the house or one room inside to inspect. Note the date you did this on the checklist and flag items needing maintenance or repairs so you can schedule time or make a list for your handyman or handywoman. Second, maintain. Keep your home safe, such as smoke detector batteries. Keep your home energy efficient, like furnace air filters, and prolong the useful life of many home features, like caulking bathroom tile. Write it down when you complete a task, keeps you from guessing later on. And third, update. Take advantage of improved materials and fixtures, upgrade to new building codes, and evaluate when it makes more sense to make an improvement rather than repair, such as replacing a bathroom floor rather than repairing the grout. Check out the book or give me a holler and I'll hook you up online to get the maintenance checklist for yourself. If you'd like to have the entire book, please go to livinggreenbook.com for a multitude of ways to purchase it for yourself. Thanks again. This is Marla, the Green Home Coach. Well, we are back talking big budget home repair, kind of the scary stuff, eh, Tina?
Yep.
It's the stuff that is going to go in your home and you just hope it doesn't, but it will. So I love what your whole idea is that it's going to go. So let's be as prepared as we can.
Right.
Okay. So one of the major systems in my home breaks or doesn't work. And we're talking everything from garbage disposal to the air conditioner, right?
Right.
Okay. So what's our first line of attack?
The first line is to basically go in that drawer where you throw all the work.
All the warranties and manuals?
Yeah. I'm trying to keep them all online now. I'm not totally successful yet, but I'm actually trying to, as I start researching all of my warranties, because the builder didn't provide any, I'm trying to put them all on a Pinterest board.
Yep. That's what HomeNav does. The very first place I started in this business.
Yeah. So you want to see if something you purchased is still covered by a warranty.
By the manufacturer's warranty.
Right.
Okay.
In fact, with your large home appliances, I'm not a big fan. I kind of cringe when you check out a Best Buy and they want to sell you a home warranty on almost everything.
Oh, you mean an extended warranty like on appliances and stuff? Okay.
Yeah. So the one appliance I would strongly advise people to get is the extended warranty for a refrigerator, because the ice makers they're error prone and you're guaranteed to have a problem with your ice maker.
I hadn't thought about that, but almost everybody I know that's had a refrigerator problem, it's been the ice maker.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
one that I suggest everybody purchase. For the other appliances, you don't need it.
Not so much.
And I was really pleased when I was shopping with a friend and they actually advised her against some of the warranties because it's just not great. I think like if you look at the cost of a new microwave,
Yeah, totally not worth it.
warranty makes no sense at all. You just buy a new microwave and they tend to last, a good 6 to 8 years.
So that's how to figure that out really, is to look at the life of the product, the cost, the annual cost of the extended warranty, and the replacement cost.
Correct.
Okay.
So with your appliances, it's just the warranty is on the refrigerator. When we think about the interior, the two big ones, and unfortunately, they're the ones that homeowners tend to know the least about, is your hot water heater, HVAC system.
And the two that we can't live without the most when they break.
Right.
Oh my gosh. We've gotten very used to having those two, hot water and cool air.
So here's my tip on those. And they're different. So hot water heaters, they're kind of a funny animal.
Uh-huh.
The product itself is not that expensive unless you have no money. So my point here is so if you buy a cheap hot water heater that's only going to last 6 to 8 years, then you're going to have to pay for installing a new one again.
And the installation cost is usually about the same as the product cost, isn't it?
Exactly. And so my point is buy the best hot water heater you can buy because it could last 12, 14, 16 years. And you're going to have to go through less headaches with that interim installation. And you're going to save money because that more expensive hot water heater might be 50% more than the cheap one. It's not going to be 100% more.
So the other thing I've noticed too is if you upgrade to an energy efficient model, and by the way, folks, this is your time to get the best you can. And remember that if you get something that's more energy efficient, it's going to save you on your operating cost and your fuel, and it's going to last longer. So you're not going to have to buy another one. But if you've done a little bit of research ahead of time, then you're kind of prepared for this to happen. And hot water heaters, like you said, I had one go out on me at the middle of a super cold night, ruined my carpet, everything. I mean, it was a nightmare. And we weren't prepared to have something else. So we just had literally to put in whatever they recommended and didn't really get a lot of choice. We had another time when we had two that were back. One was in back of the other. So you had to take out the front hot water heater to get to the back hot water heater. Guess which one failed? The back.
One in back.
Right. So we had to replace both. And that was when I really learned about the installation. And that was when our plumber, he said, let's get you the best you can so they'll last a long time. So that adage really does help. But taking some time to do some research on water heaters in advance is a really, really smart move. And if you buy energy efficient models, there's a lot of times rebate programs through utilities or through other energy efficient options. So that can even help offset some of the cost.
So with your HVAC systems, it's not as easy to buy the high-end HVAC systems because they can get very pricey.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So the best way to handle that is you want to get an energy efficient HVAC system, and then you want to properly maintain it. That's going to extend the life of that system for as long as possible.
The other thing you want to do is properly size that system.
Right.
With our homes being built more and more energy efficient, it is so imperative that your HVAC contractor, your heating and air contractor, runs something called a load calculation, and that they actually run it with the dimensions of your walls and your roof and your windows and all of the specifics about your home. Because if you oversize an air conditioning unit, it's going to does something called short cycle, doesn't run long enough, and then it doesn't take the humidity out of the air, and it's overworking the unit. So finding a contractor that will help you really right size the system for your particular home is really important. And sometimes you have to do a little digging to find one that'll really work with you like that, especially if you live in an energy efficient home or a green certified home. It's super, super important. But you're right. And you know what? That's a great time too to take advantage of some of the programs to maybe up the insulation a little bit in your home so you don't need as big of a unit.
Right. And then the other thing I learned from a girlfriend who knew that probably in the next 5 years she was going to have to replace her HVAC system and she wasn't going to have the $5,000 or $6,000 she needed.
Mm-hmm.
And what she did is she basically shopped around both to learn what kind of a unit she wanted and which of the local HVAC companies would provide financing for that system.
Ah, smart.
And then even better, she switched to that company so that they were the ones doing the annual maintenance and they could keep her abreast of, it's probably, you've got 3 years left, you've got 2 years left, probably in the next year, so that she always knew about when it was going to be time to replace it. And I thought that was smart. And just as we were talking through this, Marla, what I thought of is, if you spend the time doing that research and you know what unit you want and you're down to, say, 3 companies that offer financing,
Mm-hmm.
then you can go back to the 3 of them and see who will give you the best deal.
True. Good point.
Because now you're smart enough to negotiate a little on pricing because there's variability there.
Oh, always. And there's the other thing that happens is there may be manufacturer's discounts or other things that may be playing in. There may be rebates available. So, and there's also oftentimes the utility companies will offer energy efficient financing too, if the actual contractor doesn't, and they may offer rebates. There's a great website called Desire USA, DSIREUSA.org, that lists all of the energy efficient and green rebates and programs by state. So that's a great one to check before you make a big purchase, like on a air conditioning heating unit or a water heater installation, to see if there's some programs that'll help you out. Because it is a big ticket item. My gosh, you need all the help you can get, right? As long as it's legal, ethical, and moral, we'll go forward, right? Well, I know that these things are going to happen. Preparing for them is kind of challenging sometimes because sometimes it's easier to just put it off. Oh, I've never done that. Yes, once in a while I'm the cobbler's child. But having that plan and doing the research really does help. And if y'all need some help figuring out how to do the research, you can go on my website on Green Home Coach and you can schedule a free consultation with me. And I will help you figure out what those resources are that you need to be approaching. And if we need to pull Tina in to work with us, we can do that as well. So hang tight, folks. We're going to move to the outside of the house as soon as we get back. 5 myths of green homes are 5 things that you probably believe about green homes that may be costing you thousands of dollars. Which myth do you hear the most? Get your copy of 5 Myths at greenhomecoach.com and click on the button for 5 Myths of Green Homes. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Green Home Coach and let me know the green home myth you hear the most. I'll also share tips, products, and resources. Be sure to download your copy of 5 Myths of Green Homes now and then check back to learn more. Well, we're still rolling here on the Everyday Green Home Podcast, talking about the inevitable that eventually, yes, we're going to all have to replace some of that stuff in our homes. As well as we've maintained it, taken care of it, it still isn't going to last forever. So we got to plan for it, right? And Tina, you made a great offer when we were offline a moment ago. If people have comments for you, they can just reach out to you on your website and your blogs. And what's the URL?
They can reach me at hometipsforwomen.com.
Awesome.
If you're reading an article and you've got some questions, just leave those questions in a comment below and I will answer them. It might take me 2 or 3 days to get back to you, but I will, and you'll get an email with the answers.
And you've been really good about answering the questions. I see some of the comments on your blogs. And by the way, all you mighty listeners out there, Tina has a wealth of information on this website. I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of articles she has, but it is virtually an encyclopedia of knowledge about all the different facets of your home from a maintenance repair perspective. And Tina, all your experience that you got when you had your handyman or handy woman business, it really shows up, and we really appreciate you sharing that with all of us. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I really enjoy it. I mean, my web developers, when we were talking yesterday, said they can't fathom anybody else that's got as much depth of information because like now I'm writing about my home building experience. And then when it flooded,
It's the hard way to learn, girl. But, if you can take this experience that you had and help others learn from it, that's fabulous. And that's what this whole podcast is about, is to help people learn how to benefit from our mistakes and others and to learn from it and to be able to step up and step in. So thank you for that.
It's funny, I'm homeschooling a little 11-year-old girl and via Skype. It's fascinating.
Wow.
But trying to impress on her that I'm teaching her to work smarter, not harder.
Such a smart thing.
And, if you take the time to do the research, that might take some of your time, but it's going to save you time on the back end.
So true. And that applies to so many things we do in our lives, not just schooling, but our homes, obviously, buying stuff. I'm finding right now during this time of the pandemic, people are getting very, very ingenious and figuring out ways to do things that really kind of seem like lost arts. I mean, think about it. People are going back to cooking and baking and gardening and painting their own homes and doing these things that when I was a kid, we did for ourselves. But as our culture got busier and more segmented, where we had specialties to do everything, we quit doing a lot of that stuff. I mean, I haven't hemmed my own pair of pants in years. And well, guess what I get to do now? I guess I could still take them to somebody, but my mom pulled out her sewing machine just because she had some things that needed to be fixed. And she delighted in the fact that she remembered how to sew. It's just, I have to say, it's really cool to see people embracing just kind of the arts of the home, if you will. I saw a couple of, what do they call it now? It used to be home ec, but now they call it FACS. And I can't remember what FACS stands for. But I've seen a lot of posts where FACS teachers are teaching home skills, via Skype and Zoom and really getting it out there. And that warms my heart to know that we're doing that.
That's neat.
So thanks for your contribution to that. So we've been talking a lot about how to plan for the big system replacements that inevitably are going to happen in your home. We've been talking about the inside ones mainly. So your air conditioner, your furnace, your hot water heater, your refrigerator, those tend to be the big ones. I did love that tip about buying the extended warranty for the refrigerator because of the ice maker. Gosh, I had not thought of that one. Such a good tip. But the outside of our homes, I'm kind of going to guess that our roof is the number one thing on the outside of our homes that we need to plan for.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I live in hail, wind, tornado country here in Oklahoma. So a lot of people get their roof replaced from damage. That's not the best way to plan, I'm sure. So what's a better way?
Yeah, roofs are kind of funny because there's not a lot you can do in terms of maintaining them. One thing you do if you've got a lot of moss growing on your roof, that's not a good thing because those roots are going to go in and destroy the shingles. But more important is you just want to learn what your roof looks like today so that you can see signs of aging.
What does that look like?
So typically your roof, you're not going to see cracks. The thing that's the easiest to see is called cupping, where the edges of the shingle, they curl up.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
So they kind of stick up in the air. And you then realize that's the sign of an aging roof that's going to be needing to be replaced pretty soon. The other thing that's an obvious clue is if you're walking around your yard and you're finding pieces of shingle. Although I just picked one up walking through a neighbor's yard across the street from me, and these are all new houses. So in the first couple of years, I'd say that there were just some leftover pieces that got left on the roof that finally blew off due to the wind.
Oh, okay.
Once your house is, 5-10 years old, that shouldn't happen. The real thing is you want to keep an eye on the roof. Probably by the time you get to 10 years, you want to have a professional roofer come in. Maybe then again at 15 years. And then typically, if you've got the low end 3-tab shingles, you're probably looking at having to replace that roof in 20 plus year range. Hopefully, if you had the option or had done your homework and knew, you would have used architectural shingles, which are quite a bit thicker. Mm-hmm. They will last 25 to 30 years. So again, it's the hot water heater. If you use a better product, it's going to last longer, which is going to save you overall on installation costs.
Well, and there's so many other variables. So for instance, living here in Oklahoma, a lot of times if you can buy a better roof shingle called a class 4, it'll hold up to the high wind and the hail better, but it costs more. So it's all a trade-off. There's also, you've got shingles that are reflective. So if you live in a really hot area of the country, putting a reflective shingle on, there's even Energy Star shingles, will give you more protection for the inside of your home because you're not going to get as much of the heat coming through the roof and into the home. We're even seeing color choices make a difference. I mean, if you live in a really hot part of the country and you put on a dark or a black roof, you're just absorbing all of that heat into your attic or or the structure of your home. So just some simple choices, put some common sense in place.
And it's interesting because I don't really have any experience with hail. In the Northeast, where there's lots of ice and snow, then the big thing is putting the right underlayment under the shingle. When the inevitable snow melts, but then refreezes before the water leaves the roof, you don't want that water penetrating your attic. And for that one, you use something called ice and water shield.
Right.
And it should be the first layer. It should be 3 feet from the bottom of the roof up. If you're on the water, you want the entire ocean, or lake side of the roof covered with the ice and water shield. Now, different down here in Florida, which I'm still learning, I actually was able to pay another $1,000, and the plywood that was used for the roof deck on my house actually has what you would think of as aluminum foil on the top.
On the outside ours is on the inside.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's on the inside.
So mine's on the inside of my deck, on the roof deck. So if I go up my attic, I can see it. And that's so counterintuitive. It seems like it should be on the outside.
Yeah, on the outside. Yeah.
It's not. It needs to go on the inside, but it does help to reflect the heat.
Right. So that helps keep your house cooler. And then I loved hearing your tips about, if you've got, you're in a place where there's hail.
Yeah. There's actually even a certification program out there called a fortified roof, that if you live like in a hurricane area or high wind and hail, that you can actually build or replace a roof to this certification level. And in many areas, it might even help on your insurance costs.
Right. I found when I was shopping for homeowner insurance in Florida that Allstate wanted to know the design of my roof. And gable ends are really bad in hurricane territory.
Yep, and tornadoes too. Why we build a lot of hip roofs.
Because there's just a lot more lift opportunity there. Fortunately, I had picked a fairly simple roof, elevation, design for the house. So I only had 6% of that roof lift exposure, and I needed to be under 10%. So I was fine.
Good.
I have to admit the builder is using the same designs across the country, and there were no modifications made. So a lot of my neighbors have hurricane risky roof designs.
Well, so many things to think about. Folks, if it seems like it's overwhelming, get in touch with a professional. You can reach out to me and I can help you find a professional. Tina can help. And talking this through with a professional really can help, because there's a lot of considerations. There's a lot of ways you can do better. And by doing better, it may cost a little bit more up front, but over the life cycle of the home, it's not going to cost as much. So roofs have so many different things to think about. And you mentioned one more earlier that I know you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, it really depends where you live. If there's a lot of humidity and a lot of water, like the Northeast has, then wood rot is a huge problem. To windowsills, to trim around your doors, and you just learn your house. Just walk around and do a visual inspection, once or twice a year, and you'll start to see where the problems are. They become visible.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh. So much good information, Tina. We could definitely keep going, but we will likely do another podcast based on more detailed information on some of this at some point in the future. So what else can I say? Thank you for everything. We will put the resources we mentioned in the show notes. as well as a link to Tina's website so that y'all can find all this really easy. And again, reach out to us in the comments on our websites with any questions that we can answer for you. And y'all have a great green day. Thank you, Tina.
You're welcome.
That wraps this episode of the Everyday Green Home Podcast. Ready to use what you learned? Get the show notes with all the resources mentioned in this episode. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening and for leaving a review. And remember that living a little better and greener is easier than you think.